So, you've made it to probably seemingly the hardest encounter for all LFG groups. And that's the fourth encounter, Verity. Or should we call it Fashion Shape. Now, to complete this encounter, there are multiple parts, but I assure you, this will probably be the best explanation for all LFG groups by far. First, you'll notice the 6 statues that are located in the front when you first drop into this encounter. These statues are actually the 6 guardians within your fire team, and they are utilized in a very important mechanic later on in this encounter. For now, just make note of their location. Next, you'll want to intentionally split your team into 2 teams of 3, one being the inside team and one being the outside team. I will first explain the inside team's objective. The people willing to be the inside team should cross the 6 statues in the beginning to go up towards the front. If you are behind these 6 statues, you will be the 3 teammates staying on the outside team. For the inside team, you'll want to interact with one of the 3 statues located in the front of the room. This will teleport you to an isolated area in a separate space from all of your teammates. Ads will spawn in this room, including 2 knights that are involved in the mechanic for being freed from this isolated space and returning to your teammates. Another thing you will notice is that there are 3 guardians on the statues going across the room, holding a specific shape. Make note of this shape as it is important for you to be released. One of the 3 guardians that are within the rooms will immediately call out the shapes on the statues in order from left to right. And this is what will allow the outside team to complete their task to also allow you to be freed. Someone should type the order of the shapes called from left to right in the chat so that it is easier for the outside team and it could eliminate unnecessary communication to an already complicated encounter. After calling out the order of the shapes from left to right and making note of the shape that your own statue is holding, you'll then want to look back at the wall and see the 2 black shapes that are flashing along the white wall. These shapes that are changing between each other is telling you that killing one of the knights located in your room will drop one of the shapes that is located on the wall. It is random which shapes will drop by which knight. However, it's guaranteed that a shape will drop if you at least see one located on the wall. The objective of escaping the room is to make sure that the 2 shapes that are flashing on the back wall are not identical to the one that you're holding in your hand. For example, I see that this is my guardian and I am holding a square. I'll look on my wall and I'll see a square and a triangle. I'll know that one of the knights will have the square that I'll want to get rid of, while the other will have the triangle that I want to keep flashing on the wall. What you'll want to do is trade the shapes that are dropped by the knights with the 2 other guardians that are stuck in an isolated room like you. You could do this by picking up the shape on the ground by interacting with it after killing a knight. You will then want to deposit that shape after recognizing that you've gotten the buff by looking at the left side of your screen. Deposit this shape by going up to a statue that's not your own and interacting with it to give it to somebody else. After doing this, you will also notice that the wall is either not flashing anymore with one shape, and that's telling you that you will only have one knight left or that will spawn in the next cycle, or you'll have a different shape show other than the one you've originally deposited flashing because your team member has also given you a shape. There will be times that you'll also have no shapes, being the triangle, square, or circle flashing, and it will look kind of like a loading screen spike circle. And this will mean that you'll have no shapes and no knights will spawn in your room. You could fix this by having one of your teammates deposit additional shapes located in their room to the statue to give you one again. An item of note is that once you've killed both the knights located in the room, or one if you are only seeing one shape, an ogre will spawn and you'll have to kill it once again to be able to spawn 2 knights and 2 new shapes to hold. There are 2 main ways to complete this room, and the LFG way, or the most popular way, is to do this by adding an extra step to the process of trading shapes. You'll do this by looking at the wall located at the back wall. After identifying the shape on your statue, call out from left to right the order of the shapes for the outside team to complete their portion of the mechanic. So, for this example, I'm holding a circle. Then I'll look at the wall and see that it's flashing a triangle and circle. Now that I've added an additional step is to have the 2 shapes on the back wall flashing the same symbol as the one located in my statue's hand. Once again, the shape was circle, so I'll want to check the wall and also give my teammates the shapes that they are holding in their hands in their statues. This is done because you want to reset the wall to be able to easily distribute shapes to your other 2 teammates with little to no communication. How do you accomplish this, you might ask? Well, once you have 2 of the same shapes flashing on the wall that's identical to the one in your hand, you'll then want to give one of each of these shapes to the 2 statues that are not yours. What this will do, if done correctly, will guarantee that you'll have the 2 shapes that you'll require to leave the room. The 2 shapes will be opposite from the one that you're holding at the end. So for example, I'm seeing a triangle and square. After I've confirmed that I have the shapes that I need, I'll kill the 2 knights and will pick up both shapes from the ground that will give me a new buff that combines the 2 shapes and will allow me to leave the back room if the outside team has completed their task. Now, there is one more mechanic that the inside team should know about. After trading a few shapes between all teams, the witness will eventually notice your actions. It'll actually say it at the bottom right hand side of the screen. And doing this, the witness will petrify the 3 guardians inside the rooms, essentially killing them intentionally. In order to free your teammates, this will lead to the next mechanic, and this is where the final shape becomes the fashion shape. The outside team will have the 2 ad clearers pick up the ghosts of the guardians that have been petrified and correctly place them in the proper statues located in the back of the main rooms where you first start this encounter. Now, for how to number the statues placement, you should go from 1 to 6, from left to right for consistency. Also, if you're a quote-unquote dead player, you should spectate the guardian able to view the statue's location, as you're the only person who could see where one guardian should go that is also petrified that is not yourself. You can identify them by looking at one of the 3 glowing statues and seeing the silhouette of one of your team members, and during this phase it's only 3 guardians petrified to easily complete this mechanic, because if you're guessing the wrong statue, the person who inserts the ghost will die. You'll want to coordinate with your team by styling your guardian and the character customization to be distinct enough to easily describe, as well as have an easy to recognize ghost by either making it similar to your style or easy to call out. You'll then probably want to write a quick reference sheet in your notes and coordinate easy to say names, as well as having the same descriptions will save you from a team wipe later in this encounter. To keep organization, the callouts for describing ghosts should start by the person who can see the leftmost guardian's glowing statue first, and working your way to the right to break out of being petrified, and continuing the steps left off from being frozen in the inside world. Also, be careful. Currently, there is a bug where you will not be able to see your own gun, nor will you be able to see other guardians. If you are in this encounter and are one of the Petrified guardians, you will also not be able to see the silhouette of the statue, and this is not an intended thing. You should restart your application to fix this. Also, an item of note, if you die in the inside world, you will have your character's res show up in the outside world, and one of the players in the outside world will be randomly spawned in the inside world. If you have teammates who are more comfortable in certain areas, you could die within the inside world intentionally to be placed in the outside world. Now, if you're on the outside team, this is the part where most teams get stuck on, because they are introducing 3D shapes and we signed up to play Destiny, not to go to geometry class. However, there's a very easy way to complete this method without these complicated guides. First, I'll put up this chart for combinations of shapes so that you could get somewhat familiar or use it as a reference while playing. Feel free to pause and screenshot it. You'll want to split your team to be 2 ad clears who will kill everything in the area except for the knights, with their second job being to free the 3 guardians from the inside world whenever their ghosts appear, which should have a blue indication on the screen like this. The third person will be in charge of opening the doors for the guardians stuck in the inside world. You'll do this by first listening to the call out made by the inside team of how the shapes are positioned going from left to right, which will be the key for the player in the outside. Now, before I get to the method of completing the encounter easily, you'll notice that the shapes on the statues are 3D shapes. If you refer to the reference sheet, this just means the statue has a combination of 2 shapes within that chart that'll make a 3D shape. Your goal is to have each statue from left to right hold a 3D shape without the shape called from the inside team. For example, the inside team called circle, triangle, square from left to right. When I look at the statues from left to right, you'll notice that each 3D shape has one of the shapes on each of the statues in the same order that's called from the inside room. Those are the shapes that you'll not want it to be holding to open the door for the inside players. Similar to the inside team, for the outside team, to get the shapes, you'll have to kill the knight. And as you look at the back wall, you'll notice all 3 shapes are flashing in black. This means that there are 3 knights and each will spawn one shape, being a circle, a triangle, or a square. After you've killed all 3 knights, 2 unstoppable champions will spawn. You can only swap one shape at a time, and to do so, you will have to grab the shape that you want and place it in a statue by interacting with it only if it has some 3D combination of that shape on its statue's hand. For example, I picked up triangle and placed it on this statue because this shape right here is a cone. I'll then take the shape that I'll want to swap it with and place it on another statue that has a combination of its 3D shape, that desired statue, and it will then swap those 2 shapes and create a new one. So to easily complete this mechanic, you'll want to kill a knight to spawn a shape on the ground. Then simply take that shape and place it on the statue in the same order as it was called in the chart. The current rotation is circle, triangle, square. If I took the time to examine each statue, I'll see that each of these have some form of that shape in its same order. So I will kill a knight for a triangle and then place it here. Then a knight for a circle and place it here. And while those 2 shapes are doing a swap, I'll kill the 3rd knight and place his shape in the correct slot. After that, I'll check my other shapes and the chart and see if it's an incorrect shape by its identity on the chart. However, most cases, the odd shape out from the last swap would be a perfect sphere, cube, or pyramid. If I accidentally picked up the wrong shape, I could call and ask a teammate to get the right one and place it in the correct location for me. It's best to complete this sequence from left to right to keep consistency. When both the inside and outside team have done their parts correctly, the outside team will start to see the inside team pop out of thin air. Okay, so to elaborate on the very same example that I did, the call out was circle, triangle, square. And what I'm saying is outside, the two shapes that made the cylinder was both a circle and a square, as well as the two shapes that made a cone was a triangle and a circle. Last, the two shapes that made a prism was a square and a triangle. When I killed the knight, I picked up the triangle and swapped it with the circle in the other column. I did that because these two were the starting symbols, and it will automatically do that change when I do that swap. For the last knight, I killed it and primed it by placing the square in that statue. I would then have to look at all of the statues on the outside for that one shape that does not match or looks odd. And in this case, it was the middle shape. So I took a circle and swapped it with that square. And that was how I was able to unlock the door for my teammates. Once the last person from the inside team comes out, the countdown timer will stop, and then you'll have to kill 2 unstoppable champions on each side of the map until the witness notices your actions again. At this step, all guardians will become petrified except for one, so it's best to split up at this part. You'll have 1 minute on the clock, and this is where some teams or new players begin to panic. Just clear the communications chat and call out guardians' descriptions from left to right. If the one guardian alive gets the first statue wrong, it's a team wipe. If you're calm enough, the person who sees the statue can either call the guardian's name, because when petrified, you can still visually see the distinct features on guardians' headgear or chest gear, or you could continue to call out guardians by the team agreed upon names and ghosts to place them on a statue if you're in the LFG. The more people you free, the more people available to free others. If you keep calm on this part, you can complete it with clear communications. You'll then have to complete this again 2 more cycles or 3 times in total, with guardians spawning in the inside room being random for the next 2 rounds. As for weapons to use, you can use your best ad clear weapons and supers with ways to deal with unstoppable champions, as this encounter is more puzzle based. And with that, you've now completed fashion shape. You'll be going to the final shape.